As a child, there's one thing that bothered me probably more than anything else, and that was lying. I never liked to lie. I just didn't like the way that it felt in my mouth. I didn't like the way that you had to remember what you'd said and make sure that you kept the story straight. So as a whole, kind of the parent's dream, I was one of those children that really just told the truth. Probably not very surprising that one of the core characteristics of our company culture, in fact, the first characteristic of our company culture became be honest. Let me talk a little bit about what I mean by that. In our society, there's a lot of times stress on do whatever you got to do to get the deal, do whatever you've got to do to win whatever it is that you're after, including stretching the truth, changing the truth, maybe even just out and out lying. However you spin it, it ultimately ends up being a lie. We think that honesty is core to being successful. Let me explain why I believe this is the case. I think that if we don't create a trust atmosphere with our customers, if we don't make them understand that we are somebody that they can depend on, that they can count on, and that we're going to tell them the absolute truth. And let me give an example of that. I teach all of the people at our company, and I follow this practice myself, that if we make a mistake, we're going to own up to that mistake. We'll admit it. Now, we're going to do something about it. We're going to fix that mistake. We're not going to just leave it at that. But we're not going to deny it. We're not going to try to hide it. We're not going to try to cast blame. And when I'm talking with new customers, new accounts, I actually explain that. And usually people are pretty refreshed by that idea and that approach. But to be able to have honesty in a company, you've got to have something else. There's a prerequisite, and that prerequisite is safety. Your environment has to be an environment that allows people to make mistakes. Well, let's be honest here. Nobody's perfect. And no company is. I don't care how many processes or procedures you've put into play. I don't care how many books you've read. I don't care how polished you are. I don't care how many degrees you've got or how many years you've been doing this. You still make mistakes. And anyone that works for you also makes mistakes. It's not a question of whether they make mistakes or not. It's a question of what they do after they make a mistake. What we want to do is we want to own that mistake. And to be able to own that mistake, to be honest about it, and to be able to solve it and ultimately prevent it from happening again, we need a culture of safety. Now, that's something the company has to give first. We have to produce that environment. We can't expect our staff, our teammates, to be honest with us if we're not a safe place. You've got to be a person that they can come to and they can say, hey, I just messed up. And instead of screaming at them or cursing them or calling them all kinds of names or throwing a tantrum, you just sit back and say, okay, what are we going to do about it? Let me give you an example of a real life story. I'm a father of multiple kids, nine total, and my oldest, who I had to learn all the hard lessons with, was certainly not perfect, nor have any of my children been perfect. Didn't have a perfect father either, so I suppose it's a chip off the old block. My son one time came into my study and shut the door, which was never a good thing. Anytime that he would shut the door, it was like, oh, what's going on here? And he came and he sat down. He said, Dad, I need to talk with you. I'm like, okay, what's going on? And he's told me something that he had done wrong, and he was just sharing with me, I made this mistake, I did this thing, I shouldn't have done it, and this is what I've done to correct it. What's my punishment? And I let him simmer for just a minute, and then I said, well, you don't have a punishment. And he was really confused. He was like, I don't understand. I did this thing, it was wrong, I know it was wrong. Why am I not getting punished for it? Well, you're not getting punished because you've already figured out the lesson, and the lesson is that what you did was a mistake, and you've taken responsibility for that, and you are trying to do what's necessary to fix it, and you're coming and telling me ahead of time, not letting somebody else come and reveal that to me. What else do I need to correct you for? To yell at somebody or to fuss at somebody or to reprimand somebody, you only are doing that to correct a behavior. If they're bringing in the corrective action already, there's no reason to do any of that. You begin to see the value of honesty. If we produce that safe environment where they know that they can come to us with their mistakes, they know that we make mistakes, they know that we know they make mistakes, and all we want them to do is to tell us when that happens so that we can come together as a team and solve the problem. In that kind of safe environment, not only are you going to find out what's going wrong, you're going to find out how to fix those things, because a lot of times they already know why the problems are happening. And instead of sweeping things under the rug, you're going to actually be able to improve the processes in your organization. That's our belief, and that's the power of honesty. And that's why being honest has to be the first step in structuring any culture in any business. truth, honesty, in a culture of safety is going to produce success in your business.